Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to OTR e-racing Love Team Time Trial. As you can see, we're in Season 2, Week 8, and this is an extended highlights program. I managed to capture 6 of the teams racing, so I've put together a 6-way head-to-head, which I hope you'll enjoy. We'll run through the teams in a moment when they appear on screen. So here we go. First up, we've got Wormwood Scrubs, first team. That's West London. And then we've got NZ Bro 2 Meek, NZ Bro Neck Minute, OTR Eureka, 3R True 2, and Team Viper. Now what we're doing here is we're capturing the starts from all 6 of the teams. Now what we will also do is have a closer look at some of the starting footage so that we can analyze which teams got it right, which teams got it wrong. There's quite a lot to go through, and I've made 3 particular clip edits where I want to talk through the basic highlights. Okay, so this is a closer look at each team starting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cover them for around about the first kilometre. So we're going to watch each team starting for the first kilometre, just so that we can see which riders were dropped and which teams have got, how many riders. Well, here you can see Warren, Bjork and Ellen Lockett making up the Wormwood Scrubs first team. There are only 3 riders. It's a minimum 3 riders to take part. So sadly, they could only get these 3 riders together for this event. But hopefully moving forward, we'll see. Now you're allowed a complement of 6 riders. That's the maximum. But 3 of the 6 have to finish. Hence why Wormwood Scrubs here have got the 3 riders taking part. Now, considering they're a new team, you can see that they do manage to stay together pretty well. So on to the next one, we're looking at NZ Bro 2 Meek. And here you can see that they actually do have the 6 riders. In fact, they had 7 riders on the line. But one of the riders, Feldball, was not actually part of the team. Now, I'm going to mention this in the talking points, because the guy in red here shouldn't even be riding in this event. He was asked to leave both by myself and by the team and didn't do so. But later in the race, he actually didn't interrupt with the racing. But in this early section, you can see he's getting in the mix. And I'll speak more about this in the talking points. It's something that shouldn't happen. This is a private event and should only involve riders of the team. And you can see that the riders actually don't quite know what to make of it. You've got 2 off the front, but the rest of the riders aren't quite sure just what's going on. Anyway, on to Team 3, and this is Neck Minute. And the problem with Neck Minute is that they very quickly fractured. They had, 5 riders on the line, one of which, Hans, was immediately distanced from the line from the start. So it was down to 4. But even these 4 riders, they team up quite nicely here. But further into the race, you will notice that they struggle a little bit to stay together. But that's because there's a little bit of difference in the class of some of the riders. Let's put it that way. That's not to diss anybody at all. They do amazingly well to hang on to Boniface's wheel at points in the race. But all the riders put together a really good performance here. I was quite impressed by this run from Neck Minute, having watched all the footage. Okay, OTR Eureka. Again, a 6-man team. But again, you're going to see that they very quickly are decimated, shall we say. They stay together for a little while, and I talk about this more in the talking highlights section of the video, but they do manage to stay together in this early section of the race, which is quite nice to watch. But then later on, we'll see that one of the riders really begins to struggle and is eventually dropped. And that's in the talking highlights section. All 6 riders you can see together here, riding really well together. OTR really know how to ride team time trials, so you'd expect this from them. And the footage shows this. And then last up, we've got 3R True 2, a real powerhouse of a team. Now, they put forward 4 riders, and this is a very experienced team and very experienced riders. And generally, you will find with 3R, they will stay together. We've only got one of the teams. Another one of 3R team, Mushroom, was racing, but I didn't manage to get the footage because it clashed with one of the other races. So I did manage to get True 2. And these 4 riders, more or less, will stay together throughout the full race. And there's never any sort of like issues of losing wheels and this lot with them, except maybe on the climbs, but they're a very experienced team and they ride really well together. They're well matched, I think, although Widders is making a push off the front here. Now, the idea in team time trial is not to make a push off the front and keep your team together. So I've said how good they are, and Widders has just rushed off the front there. But the teammates have caught him up there. I said the last team, no, we've got Team Viper. How can I forget? 5 riders from Team Viper make the start, but one of the riders very quickly gets distance, Proctor, as you can see here. Now, he does get back, and to be honest, I run through this in the highlights, in the talking section, sorry, and Proctor does an amazing job to get back to these 4 riders, but at what cost? And you see the cost he pays later on in the video. But he does actually get back to the 4 riders, even though they open up, I think it's a 50, I think at its best, it's about a 56-meter gap. Well, we saw 57 there. So he's a good way behind, but you can see him putting in the red numbers, trying to get back on terms with them. And I can say he does eventually get back on term and rejoin. And in fact, is able to do pulls on the front. In fact, it's even more than distance than I suspected. It's 74 we saw meters there. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick out a few talking points from those starts that you just saw, and going into the first 5 kilometers. We'll just watch a bit of footage multi-screen. And one thing to explain is you saw on screen there, you often get that menu button. Here we go, it's on screen again, popping up. I've since learned, since I recorded those 2 videos, I've learned how to turn it off so that it doesn't appear at all. So my apologies for when it does appear on screen. I know it's annoying, but moving forward, I'm learning all the time with this editing, and learning about the software. So you'll see improvements on a weekly basis as I get more into it, and hopefully the editing won't take me as long as it has done this time. I mean, I've spent many hours putting this show together for you today. You wouldn't believe, and it just reiterates the work that Damon Bates from ZMS Live Streams did, because this is a lot of work, folks. Many hours of running through the footage and piecing it all together into what you see on screen. And Damon did a much better job than me at doing this, and he did it all for free, and that just amazes me. I'm gobsmacked, to be honest, that he was able to do it for free, because he must have spent many days doing the footage, as I have. But we'll crack on, and it will get easier as I make the templates. As you see the templates on screen, as I make the templates, I can actually use them in forthcoming videos. So the 4-way head that I did the last time, the 6-way head, and the 2-way that you'll see later on in this video, I can actually use those templates now that they're created in forthcoming videos. So editing should start to be a little bit quicker, because I know you're going to be waiting till Sunday evening to see this video. And my apologies, I did tell James Ogilvy I'd get it ready for about 4:30 UK time, but I just had some glitches that I had to fix. And so I think we're going to be looking at a bit later on Sunday evening, when you finally get around to seeing the footage. Anyway, what I've done here is I've done the 6-way head-to-head for, I think, about 3 minutes. So we should very quickly be going into the talking points section. Here we go as I speak. And the reason why I've put this together is I just want to go over what's going on screen here. You can see NZ Bro 2 Meek. I've got this unwanted rider Feldball. Now, they spoke to him in the chat, as did I, and asked him to leave the event. He does actually interrupt the riding here. You can't say, yes, the Polly and Lynch are doing a great job of staying in front of him, but then you'll see in this talking points video that he does actually start to get involved in pulling off the front. There he goes. Now he's riding away, but you see that the riders behind close up the gap to him and actually do draft off him for a little while. Now, there's no fault here. I'm not giving any fault here to the riders from 2 Meek. They're just trying to ride as strongly and as best they can. And they told the guy to go away. They didn't want him in the race. But you can see here, they close up the wheel, and for a little while, he seems to ease up, and they got on his wheel. And this is totally unforgivable from Feldball. I'm sorry. He says, well, it was a public event. This is a private event, and it's obviously a team time trial. The guy can't tell me he didn't know what was going on here. I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. And I'm very forthright in my comments, folks. But I do believe that Feldball should have pulled out when asked to do so in this race. I think he shoots off the front here again as well. Now, there we go. We're moving to Eureka. Now, the reason why I put this talking point in is because you will see that one of the riders really struggles here to hold the pace. And so we go from a group of 6, and it very quickly slims, well, not very quickly, but it does tend to slim down now. And the reason why I put the footage in is just have a look at Enduro here at the back. And away he goes off the back, really, really struggling to get back on with his teammates. Now you see his numbers going red, and to be fair to Enduro, he really does put in a superb effort to get back. I mean, this is one of the rides of the day, folks. He's putting in a huge effort to get back, but does he pay for it later? Because we call it burning matches when you have to close a gap like that. Now watch, he actually gets to the front of these guys, but he just cannot hold the pace. Here he goes, he's off the back. Well, he's not off the back at the moment, he's in the middle of the pack, but you will see that, you know, he really struggles towards the back end of the race. Not at the moment, he's riding in the middle of the pack. Team Viper. Now the talking point here is the fact that the riders are really not riding as a team time trial, as a group here. They're well spaced out. I mean, you can see they're coming together now, but there's far too much distance between the riders as a group here. I mean, Harry Boss was well off the front, had to slow up to allow his comrades to close up the wheels, and this continues throughout a lot of the event, where the riders don't particularly stay together. Anyway, that was just my talking points. Something for you maybe to look at in future videos. Now, if any of you want the full videos of the footage, I can provide them. What we're doing here, obviously, is just doing the highlights of the full race footage. But each of these teams I have the full race footage of. Now we're on to the 5 kilometer split. So we've got the first two teams, 3R True 2 and NZ Bro to Meek. Now you can see from the distance done, we've currently got True 2 on 461, 450. So they've got about 1.1 kilometer, sorry, not 1.1, 0.11 of a kilometer advantage. So it's pretty close, this. I don't expect there to be much in this when we get to the 5 kilometer split. This is going to be pretty tight. The question is, can Tumeek close it up? No, they look like they're holding, like I say, 0.11. So it looks like, and here you can see Jeffries is one of the stronger climbers in True 2. He's pushing off the front, trying to pull his mates along. There they go, joining him. So True 2 came in with a time of 6:59 and 7:10 for Tumeek. Now all these splits are given later on. I give you the 5 and the 10 kilometer splits in a table. So if you miss them this time around, you can fast forward and get them later in the video. Why you would want to fast forward, I don't know. This is pretty good racing. Now what I've done here, though, you've got Wormwood Scrubs putting in a very, very good performance considering there are only 3 riders. And you've got OTR Eureka, who are still 6 riders, because we can see that Enduro is still with them, still hanging there. But OTR Eureka it's fair to say they're a good distance behind Wormwood Scrubs, and I've put them on the same page purely and simply because the last two were pretty close together. In fact, very close together. And so I thought I'd put two teams that were sort of like, in terms of not being close to the other teams, I thought I'd show them on screen together so that I could show the head-to-heads more for the teams that are closer, as I did earlier. So here we go. Wormwood Scrubs came in 720. And OTR Eureka, it's not going to show it. I'm not going to show just how far they are behind on screen. I've edited it. But there you can see 8:32. So they're a good minute and 12 seconds behind Wormwood Scrubs. Sadly finishing in last place. But, you know, they're a new team. They can only improve. And we're down to the last split. The last split is Neck Minute and Team Viper, and this is a very, very close head-to-head. You can see from the distance moniker, we got 424 versus 421, so pretty close together. And the question is, can Team Viper, who, as I say, really need to start working more as a complete team. You can see they've got 4 riders and the 5th rider is hanging on for dear life here off the back of the 4. You know, they really should be working more as a unit, as you can see the Neck Minute team are doing. So who's going to come in first? Well, I think it's closing up. It's closing up. Look at this. This is 0.1 in it, folks. Team Viper are actually closing up the gap. Whoa, who's going to get there first? This is nail-biting stuff. This is very close to the 5 kilometer mark now. There's nothing in it at all. 7:28. Whoa, 1 second. 1 second in it. What a race. Now let's see what happens at the 10 kilometer mark. We'll check out those splits later and see just whether Team Viper can overhaul Neck Minute. Okay, so I've edited the video and now we're looking at the teams closing in on 10 kilometers. I think we've got about 3 minutes of footage here in the split screen. Maybe a bit less. And what you can see here in this footage is how the teams have now whittled down. I mean, obviously Wormwood Scrubs are still with their 3 riders. But you can see that Tumeek are struggling slightly. You know, you can only see 2 riders on screen at the moment, so they're not working well as a unit. There is actually 3 riders. We're only showing 2 on the screen because one of them is way, way off the pace behind. He does eventually catch up, but Boniface, who's a very strong rider, is actually off the back. You can see from NZ Bro Neck Minute, they're working really well. 4-man team, so they're staying together, as are OTR Eureka. There's still 5 riders. They managed to sadly lose one of the riders, but the 5 riders, 3 are true to, as you would expect, all together. The same 4 riders we saw earlier are still riding together and will more or less stay that way to the line. I can say that without any shadow of a doubt. Team Viper, 4 riders, so they're looking good as well. I think Proctor was the one dropped off the back, as I said. But yeah, this is good riding. You can see that to me, Boniface was able to rejoin his comrades. But look how spaced out they are. If you're watching this footage as I am, you can clearly see the gaps between the riders for NZ Bro 2 Meek. And that's not really what you should be doing. Okay, we just saw True 2 going under the banner there. So I think that was the halfway banner. So they were the first under the halfway banner. So still out in front. To Meek going under the halfway banner. Wormwood very, very quick to, very, very close behind To Meek going under the banner. So that's a close race. There we saw Team Viper as well going under. If I'm missing one, folks, I apologize. There we see Neck Minute going under. So that was a pretty close race. Okay, so now we're looking at the 10-kilometer race. And we can see that, what have we got here? About a 300-meter gap, I think, between True 2 and To Meek. So this has been a pretty close race. I don't see 3R True 2 losing this split, though. They're going to maintain this advantage over To Meek. But how close is it going to be? And have To Meek managed to stave off the challenge from the other teams? 13:36 for True 2. That's an impressive time for the 10-kilometer mark. Okay, come on, To Meek. You're not that far behind, surely. 14:03. So what's that? 27 seconds? Yeah, it went out a little bit. So 27-second gap between True 2 and To Meek. Now, what's the next 10-kilometer split going to reveal? We'll know in a few minutes. It will. Here we go. So on to the next split, and we got Wormwood Scrubs against Team Viper. Now, if you remember, these two were pretty neck and neck, but it does look like Wormwood Scrubs has pulled out a gap here over Team Viper. And as with True 2, I don't see Wormwood Scrubs being caught at this split. What we got? About 150 meters, I think, give or take. 150 meters. So that's going to, it's going to be a few seconds. You can see that Harding from Team Viper is really pushing the red numbers there, trying to pull his team up and pull back this gap. But my guess is 14:07 for Wormwood Scrubs and 14:17 for Team Viper. That's pretty close, folks. So now you've got your last split. You've got Neck Minute and OTR Eureka. Now, there is going to be a substantial difference here. I've edited the footage because I don't think it would be fair to sort of like leave OTR Eureka hanging out there in this split after Neck Minute are finished. But what's really impressive, and what you have to be impressed with here, is that both teams, I mean, Neck Minute have managed to hang on to the 4 riders they had, as have OTR Eureka. And from OTR Eureka's point of view, that's going to, here we go, Neck Minute in 14:26 and Eureka in 16:19. But that's going to stand Eureka in good stead moving forward. The more riders that can stay together, you know, the better they're going to be able to work together and pull themselves up the tables. And that, folks, is it as far as the splits go. Now, we should have, I believe I edited this video and put the splits side by side on screen. Here we go. So let's have a look and see whether there was any changes around. So 7:27. Yes, we have. So Team Viper actually lost a place. I'll let you go back and have a look at that. You can always replay it. So True 2 going under the 1 kilometer to go banner. This is the finishing straight, folks. Under the finishing banner, looking really strong. 3 riders they've left behind with us who did a heck of a lot of work earlier on in the race for 3R. He's done his bit and he's left these 3 riders to finish the last kilometre. Rasmussen is very, very strong. We've seen him in the tours. Very strong rider, as is, well, all these 3 riders, Orr and Jeffries. We saw them in the Tour de Mons, in the Tour de Suisse. So, yeah. Very, very popular riders. This is my ex-team. So they're my ex-teammates. And I have a soft spot for Team 3R. $250 meters to go. We should see the finishing banner round the next bend. They've got to go around this next bend and then it's the home straight to the banner. Here we go. And there's the banner, folks. So what time are we going to get? 26:18. So 26:18 for True 2. Remember that? We'll very quickly be moving on to the next team. Okay, Tumik are the second team home, going under the 1 kilometer to go banner. Now I know it's a struggle to hold the wheels, but when you consider that the time is on the third rider, you should try and stay together as much as possible and take effect of the drafting, because the time given here will be on Dallimore, the third rider. He is actually going to get back to them, get back to the wheels. So well done, Dallimore. This is a good effort from you, mate, to get back to your teammates. But you should really be giving absolutely everything, busting a gut to stay on the wheels, to make sure there are no gaps coming into the finish. Because if there was a huge gap and it's on the third rider, you can lose many, many seconds. I mean, I believe, having watched this footage previously, these 3 riders coming together. Right, they've got 300 coming up to the 250 meter banner. They've got 2 more bends to take. This one, the left-hander, and then the right-hander. But ideally, you want to be right on each other's wheels. Here we go. They're closing up as we're coming into the line. For what's it going to be? 27:25 for Tumik. By the way, if I do pronounce some of the names incorrectly, folks, I apologise. I just pronounce them as I see them. So Wormwood Scrubs. Now this team have been 3 riders. There they go under the kilometre to go banner. 3 riders right from the off. So this is an amazing ride. To finish third with just 3 riders against such good competition, I think they should be really proud of this performance. I mean, they've stayed together. There's never been big gaps between them. They've really worked well as a team, these 3. I watched the whole footage and I was very, very impressed by the footage here. I mean, Ellen Lockett looks a beast as well. She's really, really a great asset to this team. But they've all ridden strong. I mean, Bork and Warren, they've all done their fair turns It's been a really good ride from this team. I've enjoyed watching them. Let's hope we see them again, but hopefully they can get a couple more riders, 2 or 3 more riders, and then they'll be more, even more competitive because they're recovering more. If you can recover, here we go, round the right-hander, and then we'll see the finish banner. They're staying together. Really good ride. And not that far behind, you know. What they posting, a 28:10? That's pretty close. We'll get the results shortly, folks, but that's pretty good riding, pretty close, considering there were only 3 riders. Okay, so next up we got Team Viper. They're coming to the... and again, look at how they're spaced out. So Team Viper coming up to the 1 kilometer to go banner. Only 3 riders left, which is not a problem at the 1 kilometer to go mark, but you should really be working well together and staying together. This is not the point where you want one rider really pushing off the front. You want to be working to finish the ride as fast as you can together as a threesome. Time is given on the 3rd rider. So it's important that you make sure he hangs onto your wheel, that you don't leave him behind. Good ride in this. This is my colleague Chris O'Hearn in the middle there. I know Chris from over on Swift for many years. Harry Bass has just dropped off the back slightly. He's 10 meters back, so he needs to put in a big effort here to get back to the wheels so that the team don't lose time. But this is what I mean, you know, they should really be keeping an eye on this and not letting this happen. I do think Harry Bass will get back. He's a very strong rider, and you can see he's going at he's 5.8 watts there. So he's putting in a big effort here to get back. You see him dig again. Here he is, he's digging again. 5 watt kilos he's putting in red again to get back to them. So they've not lost any time through Harry Bass. Well done. That's a good effort, mate. 28:58. So another close result. Neck Minute next up. Now, they're 4 riders. You can see they're a little bit spaced. I do think they're going to close up though. They've ridden a good race, this group. They could do without that gap though. That's a 20-meter gap. In fact, you've got 20 meters between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd riders, which is not ideal. Look, that's not the way to ride a team time trial, folks. Sorry, I know I'm being a bit harsh, but this is all part of the tactics. And if you want to compete, certainly when the competition gets into the final stage, if you want to be competitive, you have to fix problems like this. You've got these 3 riders and they're 20 meters behind their lead rider, not taking any effect of drafting whatsoever. Only riders 2 and 3 are actually drafting at the moment, and that's hard work. Poor Lee at the back there is working his butt off trying to get back to them. And what it means is that Boniface probably has to ease up slightly just to allow them to get back. I'm not saying he is doing, because he was going red there, but quite often if a rider's off the front, it means he has to ease up just to allow his comrades to get back. Not ideal riding. And I'm sure the riders won't mind me giving these mini criticisms, because this is what team time trialing is all about. It's all about getting the tactics correct and being the fastest team on the day. This is a good time though. So what we got, 28 on the 3rd rider, 28:52 on the 3rd rider with 4 riders coming in. Well done then, said bro. Okay, and last up, Eureka. Again, under the 1 kilometer to go banner. Now, obviously, they can't compete with the big boys at this point. They're a relatively new team, and we can only see improvements from them. We've got 3 riders out the front. The 4th rider is going to join them, I think. So we're going to see 4 riders coming into the finish, which will be nice. Here we go. And they're putting in a good effort here. You can see the red numbers. Enduro. Now remember, Enduro was struggling earlier on, and here he is at the finish putting in red numbers. What a good ride from that lad. But that's why I like these team time trials, because we've seen in past editions, we've seen riders get dropped and get back. I mean, we've seen some amazing recovery rides from some of the riders to get back on. Can't remember his name now, but I remember one guy pulled back over a kilometer. Okay, so the left and the right-handed to go, and then into the finish. And these lads will be glad to finish. Their legs will be hurting because you can see, look, the red numbers, they're all giving everything. All of them going into the red. So it's not from lack of effort. Good riding, guys. And there's the banner, which I'm quite sure they're going to be pleased to see. Time on the 3rd rider, so what we got? 34.48. 34.48 for OTR Eureka. And that, my friends, is almost a wrap. Don't go away just yet. The action hasn't finished. We've got the tables. We've got the league placings. Here we go. So there you can see the times and the results, with 2-2 taking a convincing win by over a minute and 7 seconds. But then we've got a pretty good battle. I didn't manage to cover RGT Australia. Sadly, that was the day I couldn't get into the software. So I didn't manage to record them. And OTR Blue clashed as well. So there's a few teams I wasn't able to cover. But thanks a lot for watching, folks. I've really enjoyed putting this together. If you aren't already a subscriber,